So what's the big deal about third grade, right? Do you remember when you were in third grade? It was a long time ago, maybe for some of us a little longer. Most of us, though, can recall something about third grade, a fond memory, whether it's a fun field trip we went on or trying to decide what you're going to be for Halloween, or just the fun of playing in the playground at recess. You know, recess is one of those things as you get older you really miss. We should all have more recess. But third grade, you know, the good old days, it was easy. It wasn't serious. It was just third grade. When I was in third grade, it was 1969. It was the year that America put the first man on the moon, and it was also the year that the Beatles played in their last concert together. That was big news back then when they were starting to break up, and both of those topics were big. But I was a third grader. I didn't really know about that stuff. I didn't care. It wasn't a serious thing for us to worry about. But let's go back to the first question. What's the big deal about third grade? Well, the answer is that third grade is one of the key pivot points in a person's education. As the previous speaker said, you know, the development, we now know, starts so much earlier. Experts define it as the year, though, when students make the leap from learning to read to reading to learn. It's a critical piece. So being proficient at reading in third grade is critical because in fourth grade, they start actually hitting you with more information, and not being able to keep up will push you backwards. The studies actually show, though, that third graders that aren't reading proficiently by the time they get through third grade are 4 times more likely to not graduate with their classmates. And in neighborhoods that are in concentrated poverty, it's 9 times longer. Some studies say 13. Worse, the odds of them getting through. So those kids are going to be at a significant disadvantage and face a higher risk of adversity the rest of their lives. But more importantly, we're talking about big lifelong implications at a key pivot point. But just like when we were that age, these are third graders. They don't know what's at stake, right? This is not something that they're programmed to understand. I've seen what life looks like close up in families and in adults that have had failed education. For 11 years, I chaired a nonprofit that did supportive housing for ex-offenders and long-term homeless. And when you look back at the work we did over 11 years, we served over 5,000 families that you could trace most of their struggles back to their educational issues growing up. Clearly, if we don't make sure that all kids read well by the third grade, the long-term cost of their unrealized potential is staggering, not just to the individual, but also to us as society. I mean, we have higher social service costs, and we have just that lost talent that we don't get to take advantage of. So with all of our collective resources, to the point that the previous presentation made, are we really going to let this happen where we let poverty spin out of control for kids just because these third grade kids are not reading well? It seems to us that the responsible thing to do is to try and find another way to add incremental help to push these kids over, to give the teachers the tools, to give the schools the tools to do something different to get the kids there. My wife and I'd like to talk to you about our program that we co-chair called Backpack Tutoring. It's had a positive impact on thousands of kids over the last number of years in Minneapolis. Backpack's a 22-year-old program. We serve academically at-risk elementary students in a safe, fun, supportive environment after school, and it's currently staffed by about 475 high school students. Our mission, very simply, is to support the elementary schools, elementary students and their teachers, and provide them one-on-one assistance that gives the support to the kids that are behind. Our high school volunteers aren't only tutors, but they become mentors to these kids. They become trusted friends, and they model the kind of behavior that then fosters success in the kids as they go on. Think about the value of having every struggling kid have a relationship like that, meets with them one-on-one once a week and helps them. Backpack was started here in 1997 in this high school, started by a kid that was working on his Eagle Scout project, and started with 10 friends, and they built this program up. It was then taken over when he graduated by a church, and then that was run by a gentleman who ran it till he got terminal illness and died. And my wife and I and our family then adopted it and have taken over the program, and just to continue the work that it was, what they had started. Our many years of experience helped us kind of formulate this into 2 goals. So you can imagine the first goal is to build strong relationships between the high school volunteers and the elementary school students that we serve, with the goal to make sure that they get a sufficient amount of help that each kid is working at grade level each year. Interestingly, after a few years though, we figured out that how we were accomplishing this was actually creating a second goal. So we believe that kids should have, or all of us should have, the opportunity to do service for others and learn how to help. But we came up with a second goal, and that was that we wanted to create lifelong volunteers and community active people out of our volunteers and the students that they worked with as they modeled that behavior. So just as the experts say we need to learn to read to learn, we like to say we need to learn to serve so that we'll serve to learn, because you learn so much from that. Everybody learns and deserves the satisfaction of serving others. It's a great way to learn something new, but it's also a great way to build community.
Well, now that Bob has set the scene, I want to talk about how all of this comes together to turn this model into a program that is fun, beneficial, and very easy to duplicate. Benjamin Franklin said, "Tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn." We love that quote. It is the true essence of what our program is all about. We involve both the tutors and the students so that they both learn the value of education and of volunteer service from each other. We do this through the special relationships that we develop and nurture throughout the years. Each tutor is paired up with a 1st through 5th grader to work with each and every week, and they work on reading, math, and other homework. Each of these students are defined by their teachers, and they are what the teachers of the schools call these kids as being in the red zone, meaning that these kids are a class behind where they should be or where they need to be. They're at least a class behind. So what is super cool about this program is that the high school tutors are seen by these students as very cool, they're relatable, they're relevant. So when the tutors walk in the school, the kids that are there, their eyes just light up with excitement. They are just so excited to see and work with their tutor. So they just can't even believe that their tutor is there to just focus on them for that entire time and to help encourage them and to get them progressing. So they see each other as cool and fun, and that's what the attraction gets them to get involved with one another. And that's when the real learning really begins to start, is once they've developed that relationship and there's trust in that relationship, and it's just magical to see. Our second key relationship is with the tutors and the school staff. The teachers say that this program is absolutely priceless. For them, our tutors represent a chance to reinforce the daily classroom lessons that they're working on. This kind of one-on-one time is not possible for each teacher to give each student during the school day. We also focus on developing a strong relationship with the administration, school, and families. One way we do this is through a large donation drive that we do each and every year. We typically gather about 15 to 20 large SUV loads of donated books, games, toys. We do school supplies, and clothing is another big thing. And then these social workers and the teachers are the ones that distribute all these items to the kids in need. Because of the work of a lot of people, the program has a long history of proven success. For 22 years, the teachers and staff have shared their growth with us regarding these kids' growth academically and socially. So next, I'd like to share a few comments from our teachers and tutors. And in their own words, you will hear about our program's success. And this success is measured in the lives that these tutors have impacted their kids. While I do that, I have a few more pictures about the program that you can see in action that will be playing. So this first This first quote is from a teacher who has worked with us for many years. She said, "Many of my students speak English as a second language. That's one reason why they struggle in school. Just having a tutor to talk to helps with their vocabulary and with the structure of the English language. The kids love having the help and friendship of your tutors. I love how they make learning cool. My kids try harder so that they don't let their tutor down. This kind of support keeps my class at the same pace so I can move them all further." This next quote is from another teacher. She said, "This is the best tutoring program I've ever seen. The high school students are eager to help, they're kind, they're bright, they're dependable, and sensitive to the kids' needs." And this one is from a first-year freshman tutor. "I love to see the kids succeed at problems they thought they would never understand and master. It is truly wonderful to see them open up before your eyes. This form of service has not only allowed me to help students learn the fundamentals to succeed in school, but has also helped me grow as a person." And this last quote is from a third-year tutor who is a junior in high school. We often get tutors starting in freshman year, and then they go all the way to their senior year with us because this program is so impactful for them. But this quote is, "My favorite thing about our time together was watching the progress that my student made. It was wonderful to see her excitement as she moved up a level in math, facts, or when she was able to read more difficult books. It really meant a lot to me that I was able to get my student to a point where she feels happy and proud of herself. Confidence, believing in herself, and passion for learning are all qualities that I know will open up the doors for my student." This program is truly joyful and magical to watch in action. The common thread in this program is that it is such a win-win for absolutely everybody involved.
So now that we've explained what it is and we've said what the high stakes are, you'd think that there's really, there shouldn't be any discussion about how much it costs. It shouldn't really matter. But since we do have to talk about that, let me say I've not figured out or seen any kind of a program that has a lower cost and a higher impact than what we do with this program. Because it's a volunteer-based program, the only significant costs are the buses that move the tutors back and forth from the high schools to the grade schools. The total budget for this program for the whole year is $19,000. When you divide that by 475 kids, that's less than $40 per tutor per year, or just $1.90 per tutoring session. To put that in context, a new elementary textbook, the cheapest one we could find, was over $65, and a cup of coffee at Starbucks, $2.25. Backpack's volunteer-based model creates a program that has a cost model that works for both sides. In fact, at only $40 a person for a whole year of one-on-one tutoring help, it's a cost of a program that we can't afford not to do. So we've been doing this for many years. We have 475 kids volunteering, and that's about 10,000 hours of volunteer time a year, which is a pretty good start. But the problem is that the problem is bigger. There are thousands of kids in the red zone that need help. That's not something that we're going to be able to do on our own. But the good news is that there are a great number of high schools we can do this with. There are 120 high schools in the Twin City metro area that we could work with. And in that, there are over 100,000 students that we could pull from. There aren't that many kids, thankfully, in the red zone. But if we could just get 5% of these high school kids motivated in on our program, there's over 5,000 kids that we could be serving and meeting the need of the kids in the red zone with. Put that in context, we have over 15% consistently here at Minnetonka High School. And just in our other high schools that we've started with, we get to 10% pretty quickly. So 5% is not a hard number to expect to get. So our hope is that by sharing this program with you, it'll lead maybe some of you to get more involved with this, or else to find your own passion and figure out a way to address it. Maybe somebody sees the video in another city and sees this as something they could do for their community. As you can imagine, it's a national problem. It's not something that's local in the Twin Cities. So there's plenty of opportunity for others to serve in a similar way. We really want people to join us in trying to find a way to fix this educational achievement gap, to try and work to find a path that gets every kid to reach their full potential. Let me summarize it this way. The cost of this program is negligible. The benefits are obvious and significant. And more important, the cost of failing are staggering. So after we've shared all this, the next time someone asks you, what's the big deal about third grade, we hope you'll all say, everything.